What's up, y'all? Welcome to today's episode of Trey's Trash Talking Tuesdays. Y'all know what it is. It's Tuesday, it's trash talking, and it's Trey. Let's get right into it. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about son husbands. What is a son husband? How is a son husband defined? All right, y'all, let's define a son husband. A son husband is a boy who's raised to pretty much take the place of his father. He's raised to be the alpha male in the house. It's as if a man doesn't exist, and even when a male is in the house, he's still being put on a pedestal above and in front of his father sometimes. And if the man is not there, then this is where a lot of women go into, oh, I'm just trying to do this for me and my king, and her son is her king. I want you ladies to realize that no matter if you have a husband or not, if you're raising a son as a single mother, he is not your king, he is your son. And you should treat him as such. Because what happens is you end up in situations where your son is not able to have healthy relationships and he's not able to function in society when it comes to dealing with females or males because he hasn't been trained properly in the way to grow up. There are levels and stages to growing up. So when a son husband starts at a younger age feeling like he has to protect his mother, he has to do for his mother, he has to provide for his mother. I saw on someone else's channel, they talked about Kevin Durant being a son husband, and I totally see that, taking nothing away from his mother at all, taking nothing away from Kevin Durant. However, what kind of irks me sometimes is, where are the fathers? It's always my mama. Well, I'm here to try to change that. So a son husband is basically a man who feels that his overall job is not just to cater to his mother, but cater to all women. And that's where the beta male cup comes in. How and why did your mom make you a son husband? Here's where it gets interesting. Yes, I'm knocking son husbands. I'm sitting up knocking son husbands and talking derogatory about son husbands. But guess what? You're looking at a self-proclaimed son husband, AKA, guess what, y'all? Mama's boy. That's right. I was a sincere, true mama's boy. I love my mama. Ooh, I love my mama. My mama was everything to me. However, my mother did a lot of psychological damage to me and herself by making me a mama's boy, a son husband. My dad was around, but the thing about my dad was, to be honest with you, he was a drug addict. He was an alcoholic. So even though he was there, and he loves to brag, I was there, wasn't I? Yeah, but you was drunk the whole time, and you was high the whole time, and you was beating my head in the whole time. So straight up, even though he was there, I feel that we would have been better off without him. Case in point, why I became such a mama's boy, because she did protect me. She did love me. She did show me, the softer side. She was all I had. So even when she died, I ended up having a nervous breakdown because I had no idea what to do without the one person in the world that I can trust. And still to this day, pretty much the one person in the world that I could truly trust is gone. So back to the son husband thing, it puts you in a position where your mother is your whole world. You're not able to have proper relationships, because I'm a mama's boy. I mean, I would even tell girls, look, I got to check with my mama first. And I'm talking about when I was 19 years old. So it's really not a good thing. And it's not a good developmental thing for your son. And me, I'm talking about me now. I had to learn and grow and become a man and learn how to be a man to a woman. I thought the way I loved my mom was the way I was supposed to love women. But that's not the point. That's not the way you're supposed to love women. We'll get more into that later. And a lot of this, ladies and gentlemen, has to do with slavery. You have to think, during the time of slavery, families were ripped apart during slavery. So mothers would lose their sons. So of course, they would baby their sons and pet their sons and, say to the master, oh, he's dumb. He can't do nothing. He's shiftless. To try to make him seem no good so that she could keep him and take care of him and be able to watch and raise him. Because in slavery, they ripped our families apart. Let me get back to something personal I just talked about in the last segment. My mother and father had me in Chicago. That's where I was born. But at 15 months old, I'll get into details about the craziness my mom and dad were doing, but they took me from Chicago and moved me to Florida where I had no family. I was raised in Miami, Florida, and I had zero family. No cousins, no brothers, no uncles, no nieces, no nephews, no family, no grandparents, nothing. And so with my father being an abusive alcoholic, that put even more pressure on me to be more of a son, husband, a mama's boy, because the only person I knew in the world that ever cared for me was my mother. And even though the love is pure, it still wasn't healthy. I should have received other relationships from other people, aunts, other uncles. Even my dad should have been there in ways that he wasn't able to because of his disease of alcoholism. However, in order to fight this, and I'm saying this to the young men out there, you got to go to boys clubs. You got to find good mentors, because being a son husband, I just don't recommend it to anybody. I don't. Because I am a self-proclaimed son husband and I suffered through the life of having to be that, it's things that I can share with boys that are going into manhood, and men too that are my age, that are, even if your mom's still alive, you're realizing, what's been happening to me. I remember when I was 17 years old, and it's not like I had a great childhood or a wonderful home life. We had things, but it was just a real torturous thing to go through with an alcoholic dad, and my mother had some issues herself. And so when I was 17, I was like, I'm going to the Army. I can't deal with this anymore. I'd rather go to the military than deal with both of my parents. So when I went to go to the military, my mother had a fit. She cried, and I was saying to myself, with the way you all treat me around here, you should be glad that I'm leaving. You don't want me here, so I'm leaving. And then when I left, I realized where she messed up. Who wants to stay in a toxic environment? I didn't. So I did what any person would do when they're in a toxic environment. I left. She cried, but I loved her, but I couldn't care for her anymore. I had to put myself first. And that's what men my age and you younger guys that are finishing high school, college, you have to learn respectfully to put your mother in her place. Mom, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. Don't disrespect your mother, but do put your mother in her place and let her know that you are a man and you're allowed to do that. Especially for the African American community. Men, you're allowed to tell your mother no and let her know that you're a man, and you're putting yourself and your family and your kids and your wife or your significant other first. Put you first. Your mother wants you to put her first. I know my mother did. And even when I got out the Army and I went to move to New York, literally, I remember like it was yesterday. She was literally explaining to me in the car how, when you move home, this is what you're going to do. We had a duplex in Little Haiti. Little Haiti is, I don't know how it is now, but back in 96, Little Haiti wasn't the best neighborhood. I mean, people getting killed over there all the time. But my mother owned property in Little Haiti while she had a 5-bedroom house in Miramar. She said, when you move back, when you get out the Army, I'm going to put you over to the apartment in Little Haiti, and then you can do all the plating, plastering, and stuff for my real estate and take care of my apartments. Little had she known, I had been to the military for 4 years. I had already been through a marriage and a divorce. I had already had a set of twin daughters. And after 4 years of being in the military, I was a full-fledged man. And it was no problem for me to tell my mother no. So I was in the car, and I had already told my little brother and sister that I wasn't moving back to Miami when I got out the military, because she had been telling them, when my baby come home, she was looking for her husband. She was looking for my dad. She was looking for somebody to come in there and do all the things that my dad used to do, but you dismissed him, And then now that I'm getting out the Army, you think I'm finna come and be your slave too? I think not. So when I sat in the car and I told her, and I said right in front of my brother and sister, I said, Mom, I'm gonna tell you this because I noticed you keep planning for me to move back to Miami when I get out the military. But when I get out of the Army, I'm going to New York to pursue my career as an actor. And I remember she sat there. One tear came down her eye really slow. And I remember she just wiped her tears away and she was really sad. Part of me wishes I would have moved back, but I couldn't do it because a year later, that was in 96. By August 11, 1997, my mother was dead. And part of me wishes that I would have moved back, but the other part knows that I couldn't, because I couldn't deal with the pressures of going to the military, becoming a man, having kids, getting married, getting divorced, living a life alone, on my own, learning and finding me. And then now I'm going to go back and allow you to treat me like a child again. At the time, I was 22 years old, and that wasn't going to happen. So I had to move on. Let's talk about two son husbands that have been in the news recently. The first one I want to talk about is Carlisha Hood's son. I have very mixed feelings about this situation because, number one, I don't condone minors having weapons. I don't condone it. However, if I were in that situation that Carlisha Hood's son was in, and I was that age, I can honestly say, I can't say that I wouldn't have done what he did, because regardless of if you're a son husband or not, that's still my mother that you're threatening, and that's still my mother that you are physically assaulting. We all have instincts. We all have fight or flight mode. So I commend that young man for protecting his mother. Now, his mother, on the other hand, some directions I heard that she gave out, I don't know all the details, and I won't get into the details, but I will say this. There comes a time in life where you have to protect your mother. But let's talk about the flip side of that. Ja Morant's mother. Ja Morant, we've been picking at Ja Morant in the news for quite some time. We've been joking about how he's fumbling the bag, and I get all that. But Ja Morant is the ultimate form of son husband that you don't want to be. There's the incident that his mother was at the mall and she called him. Why didn't you call your husband? You see what I'm saying? That's the thing that weirded me out. When someone, she had an altercation at the mall, instead of calling her husband, she called her son. Ja Morant has a lot to lose. She knows that. But she raised her son husband to be the protector and this and that. You better not mess with my mama. She should have called her husband. That was her husband's job, to go up there and protect his wife, not her son. Because, see, what's happened is, now that these incidents are adding up, that's one of the incidents that are being held against him. I personally believe that Ja Morant would be a lot better off if his mother gets out of his business. To Ja Morant's mother, you raised him to be a son husband. Put your efforts into your daughter and put your efforts into other things. Start sewing, do some knitting, or do something else, and leave that young man alone and allow him to be a great NBA player. T, I'm asking you, man to man, grab your shorty by the neck and say, come here, son. You need to stop playing this nonsense. I mean, T, I understand these kids won't listen to you. I understand he's a grown man, and I understand he's a gazillionaire. I get that. He's literally becoming the face of the NBA, but you still his dad. And what he needs to know is that you are his dad. And that's what you need to do, brother. Establish yourself as a dad. And establish yourself with that. I don't know if she your ex. I don't know the details. I don't know if y'all still married or not. But if y'all are, she needs to be checked. Leave my son alone. Let my son get out here and do what he got to do. Because that's why he acts like that. And I'm going to just tell you, y'all, that's a lot of feminine energy. Anytime a dude has got to be all... That's very feminine energy, bro. Straight up, man. Be a man. What you need a gun for? What you need guns for? Be a man, bro. The ultimate form of a son husband that you're not supposed to be. That's Ja Morant. When you're raised as a son husband and you're literally taught how to be a son husband, how does it affect your relationships with the opposite sex? From personal experience, I'm going to tell you, I used to be a beta. Yes, I did. I used to be a beta. I used to be a simp. Very much, oh, okay, well, no, I gotta, just happy to go get a woman some flowers and just, oh yeah, and I just made her smile. And when a woman would say, what's wrong, baby? What's wrong? What's wrong? Because I felt it was my job and my responsibility to make and keep her happy. Reminds you of somebody, don't it? Will Smith, another beta male, another cuck, another simp. You see what I'm saying? I say to the men my age, and I say to the youth, don't be no simp. It is not your job and or responsibility to cater to a woman and to make her happy. Self-care. Take care of yourself first. Put you first. Now, if the woman comes along and she adds to it and you all are pleasing and taking care of each other, that's cool. But it is not your full responsibility to pay all the bills and to take care of everything. No, that's a bunch of bull. That's a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of BS. Every situation is different. Every household is different. Every income in every household is different. So act accordingly. But men, do not bend over backwards and neglect yourself to take care of no woman. I'm telling you, being raised as a son husband, being raised as a mama's boy, it will have a tremendous negative effect on how you deal with relationships. So I implore you to be better, and to be better, learn you, put you first. That's the first thing you need to do. And everything else that comes in is just gravy. It's icing on the cake. All right, so here's my call to action to all the queens, because it really starts with you all. Women, I'm going to be man enough to say it. I'm going to be the first to say it. I'm going to say I'm going to be the first to say it, but I'm going to say this as a man. You all run the world. You all have the goods. You are the oracles of the universe. Men and women listen to you. The female is very powerful, especially that black female, because you're the first one. Lucy, the first female human being bone that they found belonged to a black woman named Lucy. So ladies, understand, you are the universe. You are the one giving birth to the universe. So I'm calling this out to my queens. Queens, realize that that man is going to be as powerful as you make him. Quiet as kept, I know I talked some things about dealing with my mother, but you know what? I'm the man I am today because of the structure that I had, the way I was taught, the way I was raised. She did make me to be a man, and even to be able to grow above and beyond her influence was because of the things she taught me. So I employ my queens to put these young men in their places as far as being your child. They are your children. They're not your husbands. They're not your caretakers. It is not their responsibility to be raised to take care of you when you get old. You raise those birds to fly. You don't raise those children to sit home and take care of you all their lives. Okay? That's all I got for today, man. This has been your first installment of Trey's Trash Talking Tuesdays podcast. And if you offended, that's on you.